Okay.
You're recording? All right, great, guys. So for the benefit of the recording, I'm going to repeat what I just said. At our last meeting, we agreed upon creating a formation of subcommittees in the task force in helping us deliver what we need to deliver around DEI. Having said that, what I failed to do is one important step, and that's building the framework around each subcommittee so that when we advertise these subcommittees for people to sign up for, they know what they're signing up for. And so that is what we'd like to do today in our task force meeting, is to mastermind around building that framework. And as a reminder, we have the slide up here that shows what we aligned with last time when we met around what those three subcommittees are, and that's education and awareness, tools and resources, and outreach and feedback. And let me remind everyone what each of those areas focus was going to be. Education and awareness is creating the programs around educating everyone around DEI and utilizing the same language and the same platform with regards for example, what we use at the membership training last month and the month before and things like that. So that task force subcommittee is focused around building the education program and the awareness. And what does that look like? Is it training the trainer, or is it building the training within the task force and then delivering it out to our clubs? The tools and resources subcommittee is around making sure that there are appropriate tools and resources available for clubs in addressing DEI issues and things like that, whether it be a speaker bureau, other tools that are available to us in Rotary International or outside of Rotary International by experts in the DEI field. And then of course, outreach and feedback, it's a little bit different than education and awareness in the sense that we want to have continuous feedback loop between the clubs and the District 5000 in the task force to make sure that the DEI needs of the clubs are being met, as well as anything that we feel that we need to deliver to the clubs around DEI. We can make sure that feedback is continuous and stuff like that. So in order to build that framework, we have to answer the following questions. And those questions are, what are the roles and responsibility of each of the subcommittee? So tonight, that's what we're going to do in our task force meeting, going into breakout sessions, coming up with some answers around this. And, because it's a smaller group today, we may need to share this with those who are not able to attend today's meeting so that we can get their input and then we can start building that framework. Question number 2, what can the clubs expect from each subcommittee? So this is all around the lines of expectations, right? And because not only is it what will the clubs expect from each subcommittee, but what can each subcommittee expect from the clubs, right? So if there are certain things that we want the clubs to do, respond, and so forth with respect to each of the subcommittees, let's define that now so that when people sign up for each of the subcommittees, they have either some experience that they can add value in those subcommittees, or it's an area of interest for them. And then we want to build some SMART goals. As a reminder, SMART goals are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. So how do we measure success in each of the subcommittees, right? So it might be something simple in the tools and resources where we say that we want to secure, curate, or procure at least one tool a month so that we can deliver it out to DEI. I'm not saying one, I'm just giving an example of what a SMART goal will look like for some of these areas. And then if they're non-SMART SMART goals, because we can't really create a SMART goal around a specific subcommittee, then what does success look like in each of the subcommittee? In other words, at the end of the day, if we were to say that we accomplished something, what does that look like in those subcommittees? So what does it look like when we say that we're doing education and awareness? Let's define what all of that's going to look like. So I hope you guys took either notes or a snapshot of this, because I want to now ask Naomi if she could break us out into smaller groups and answer these questions. And then let's give ourselves about 15 minutes to go over each of these questions, answer them, start building that framework, share it with the rest of the group when we come back after 15 minutes. And again, whatever comes out of this mastermind, we'd like to amend it with anybody who did not have an opportunity to chime in on this, and then we can go from there. Does anyone have any questions or comments about what I just shared? Okay, I just checked through the gallery. Does not look like anybody has raised their hands. So we'll go ahead and go into breakout rooms. Naomi, I think because there's about 8 participants, perhaps 2 breakout rooms will be fine.
Okay. Okay, okay, I'm gonna open the rooms now. Ross, did you want to join the room? Okay. Oops. Sorry, where did Marietta okay.
We're lost.
Where's everybody?
Ava, I love your background.
Thank you. A little collection.
So I don't know where everybody else has to leave their room. I don't know where they are.
I take the leave room deck key.
Okay, so Conrad, I'm on another Zoom, so I'm gonna make you host. Is that okay?
Yep, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Wait.
Are you Naomi, are you trying to listen to 2 at once?
Yeah.
I was just doing that. That's a lot of fun.
Okay, I'm going to.
Okay, it looks like the other breakout room is wrapping up because it will close in about 100 seconds. I don't know why they do it in big numbers like that. So we'll just wait for them to return to our group.
Okay.
Somebody else is coming back. So we've got 6, 7, 8. All right, so we got all of the participants back and whatnot. So we'd like to do some sharing at this time. Again, because of the fact that this is a small group today, what we'd like to do is just make sure that this recording is available for all the other task force members, so that if they have anything to add to the questions that we're trying to address in building that framework, then we can do that. So let's go with breakout room number 1 and talk about the questions to help us build that framework. So I flashed on the screen all the questions that we were talking about. So breakout room number 1, what did you come up with roles and responsibilities for each of the subcommittees?
Well, I think it's a work in progress, and I've got to be perfectly honest. We were a little uncomfortable that we've had a larger group in the last several sessions. So having 4 of us here, 3 of whom were basically in their first session, makes it a little bit tough to move forward on this. I think that a few things we've come up with were that, first of all, obviously, education is listed up there and awareness. Those are both the key roles. So one of the first pieces of education is we need to educate ourselves and be aware of how we present ourselves as Rotarians, as a district, as individual clubs. Clubs have personas. We had some interesting stories. And Mary talked about, having read the book White Privilege and then looked at areas where maybe sometimes we remain silent when we see things that might be offensive or anything else. In fact, it wasn't racial per se, but she came up with an excellent example of where someone had come up with an inappropriate joke. She initially deleted it, and then she talked to the person and worked through it and convinced them what they had done wrong. And that extra step is what we need to do. Roz had some great comments about basically about how we need to move forward based on her time as a district governor.
The Oli is good.
And Alan,
I'm sorry, wait, let me mute Naomi. All right, go ahead.
And Alan had some interesting comments when he returned. Okay, here he is. Here he is, a local boy, born and bred, came back after years on the mainland, and getting integrated into a club on the Big Island. And initially, he was sort of viewed as an Asian guy who grew up on the mainland and came to Hawaii. And once they realized he was a local boy, he felt like there were more bridges open and everything else. Am I correct there, Alan?
Yes, that's exactly right.
And so what it is these are not overt biases, but these are areas in which we as a club present ourselves or a district, whether it's how we greet someone who comes to our club, or what our photos that we show on Facebook and everything say about us. So the very first part of this education for us is to probably look and become aware of how we present ourselves and move forward from there.
Great.
And so the role and responsibility, we really didn't get through all the subcommittees, but that was the first one we looked at, and that's obviously a key piece of it. Clubs should expect that we will give them some guidance on what we see, where we think we are going, what the mandate is, if you will, from other organizations, and how they might help with that. And then as everything else we do in district, it's helping. We need to be ready to help them with the tools and the resources that we will develop as we go forward. I think outreach and feedback needs to be a continual process. Clubs are going to push back sometimes. They're going to say, yeah, I agree with where you want to go, but I'm not sure I can do this right now. You know, the standard is I'm a small club and everybody's got 3 jobs and I don't know if I can take this on too. The answer is, of course you can, if it strengthens your club and it doesn't require you to do more extra work, and it should not. So we didn't get as far as measuring goals and stuff. There's just not enough time.
Sure.
And I guess my push back to you, and then I'll turn it over to my other 3 very talented folks, is if we're really going to do this, if we're going to do this exercise before us on the screen today, we might have to do it outside a single Zoom and get the rest of our committee members, task force members who weren't here today involved for their buy-in. I think this is bigger than 4 of us. Thank you.
Yes, I totally agree. And I share your sentiments about the concern about the fact that we've got a small group today and everything like that. And that's the reason why I keep on addressing the fact that it is a smaller group today. And we definitely want to make sure that we include the voices of the others that were not able to attend today or may not be aware that today there was a meeting and stuff like that. So we'll definitely make sure that we put that in the parking lot so that everyone can get to that parking lot and address it on another forum. And I like your idea of perhaps maybe assigning it out to groups to have this discussion outside of the task force because it is a bigger thing that we should be trying to put together.
Oh, well, I probably talk more than the average guy, but I would like to give Roz, Alan, and Mary the chance if they want to wave the BS flag and say that I went astray or missed a key point. I'd really like to hear from you. Go ahead.
Absolutely. So Roz, Mary, and who else was in your group here?
Alan.
There you go. Anybody else have anything to add to what Dick was saying?
Well, one of the things that we looked at too is the fact that this is our few of our first meetings, so we didn't have the background information. And hopefully you will send this chart out to us so we could further have it. And if we're going to work in developing what's given here, then we need to, if we're going to be in this group of 4 and maybe have more added to it, then this group of 4, as I said before, should go out and get together and meet and then come back as a group as a whole. And then we discuss what we have. It's no different than how you did your mission statement or your goals in your clubs. It didn't work in 1 hour or 2 hours or one day. It took time.
Absolutely.
And it took getting together and putting it together and putting your heads together and go, okay, now we've got the answer. And that's what it's going to take with your committee. I don't know how many people you have on your committee right now, but obviously it's growing. You've got 3 new ones of us this evening.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
It's obviously growing.
Yeah.
And the more people we have, the more input we have, and the more ideas we can put out there and put across the table.
Agreed.
So it's
Agreed.
good stuff.
And yes, so I do agree with you and Dick on having a bigger conversation. And to your point, it may not necessarily be, it can be accomplished in the task force monthly meeting, but maybe we have other sessions outside of this task force cadence. And maybe because the 8 of us here have already started something, that at least we can be the ones to then lead the conversation further along the way and stuff like that. So great points. Let me just go ahead and add some of the things that our group came up with. I will also do the same thing in the sense that I don't want to be the one talking a lot. But if Mark or Eva or Naomi want to chime in, certainly can do that. So we talked about the roles and responsibility of the subcommittees around education and awareness. We said that the responsibility of this subcommittee should be the ones to find or be the presenters on DEI to the clubs. The other role and responsibility would be to encourage and facilitate clubs to have their own discussions on their own with regards to DEI. And then a third role and responsibility in the education awareness is to curate and or develop articles on DEI to create top of mind awareness. Mark also added in the fact that the education and awareness should be the group that really challenges Rotarians at looking at what they're doing and how they're doing it, and seeing if it does address DEI issues and things like that. Now, that's a big statement to say challenge. What does that really mean? I think we can really fine tune it along the way as we get more people to have that discussion. And I believe we have about 20 plus members at the last 2 meetings. That's how many members showed up at that meeting. Around tools and resources, the roles and responsibility we said would be to work with the club trainers and identifying the tools that we can get from district as well as outside. Mark mentioned the fact that, he's meeting with someone from the University of Hawaii that could be an excellent resource. And so if there are audit tools or assessment tools, evaluation tools that we can use to help clubs have and start that conversation, because every club will be progressing at different levels, and they may not be as comfortable or they may not be as ready to have these bigger discussions on DEI. I think the beauty of it, though, is that we're talking about not only the standard stuff that we have known DEI to represent say 10, 20, even 30 years ago, but it's now including other types of groups and voices. And the example that we used in our breakout session was, the blue collar worker's voice versus the white collar worker's voice and things like that. So how we do things with regards to our service projects, how do we do things with regards to collecting membership dues and things like that may not necessarily work for each of these groups. And how are we addressing that in those groups? Or is there another club that can help address that for them? And then for outreach and feedback, I think we didn't really address the responsibility, but we did say that the expectation of the subcommittees of our clubs is to be responsive to the things that the task force is wanting to share with the clubs. And responsiveness also means in being fully engaged, knowing that, yes, there is going to be some work, and we all know that we're a volunteer service type of club. How do we put that into the mix and things like that? Mark or Eva or Naomi, did I miss anything that you guys wanted to add to what our group came up with? No? Okay. All right.
Conrad, one thing that strikes me when I look at outreach and feedback is that, if you look at the clubs in the islands, many of the really innovative ideas will come from a small club on a neighbor island, not necessarily from one of the largest and oldest clubs. And so I think when we look at feedback from clubs isn't just people coming back and saying, okay, I'm having here's where I am, I'm having a little problem implementing this. I think we came up with a great idea to do this, and I'd like to share it with the rest of the Rotary clubs in the district. I think that's a very positive piece of this we ought to work on.
Great comment. Great comment. And I think Eva had something similar in our breakout session. She mentioned about the fact that it's not only about helping, it's not only about creating that loop, feedback loop where if a club says
the barracks off to the side, and he's discharging the Royal Guard, so telling the Royal Guard needed.
Yes, I come to I joined to the club because I love to help people. So I learn from another club member how to help people. Not only our own club is help. After help your own club, then help another club. You can do the multiple, you can do the international, you can do the whole world. Our club's the character is to help people, help the whole world's people.
He was sort of brought on by William Soper, by Jonathan Soper, sorry, to be the quartermaster of the military for the provisional government right after the overthrow.
Or sharing some best practices or success stories. That is a way that we can all learn around the topic of DEI. That being said, we're near the end of our hour. 6:30 is our cutoff. So I think the takeaway that we got from all of this is, number one, this is not one and done. We have to continue to have a bigger conversation with the bigger group. And it also means that we might need to have more conversations outside of just waiting once a month in the task force and stuff like that, task force meeting. And so maybe what I'll do is we can make this recording available to all the rest of the task force that was not able to attend or perhaps missed the fact that tonight had a meeting. And then let's make sure that we can schedule some additional meetings. And because you guys were part of this first discussion in the terms of building the framework, that we can have you guys part of leading the conversation even further with each group, with the groups, as we get people to come out and have those discussions. Okay. Anybody have any last minute comments or concerns or questions? I'll go around the room really quick. Dick, anything to add? No? Good. All right, Alan?
Not at this stage. I think there's a lot more discussion that's ahead of us. It's
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Like I said last week when we had this conversation, I thought, oh wow, we're going to progress. We're going to start the formation of committees, and then I missed a most important part, which is building that framework. And so, to your point, having more conversations about it is the most important thing, and it's going to evolve. Like I said, it's not going to be where we're going to create this and we're finished and we're moving on. It's something that's going to evolve over time. Because times will change as well. Roz, anything else to add? No? Okay, Mary, anything to add? No? Good. Eva? Good. Mark? You're good? All right. And Naomi, I'll give you the last word.
Oh, thank you. Thank you all for being here. This is really an important subject, and for us to reach out to the clubs and have them have their own discussion, I think this is a really fabulous thing. On March 20, we will have a Vibrant Club workshop for the presidents, president-elect, and the club trainers. And so it could be at that meeting too, we can have a little thing about including DEI in their discussion at their clubs. So hopefully we can get some materials or tools out to them, or at least give them a heads up that that's something that we'd like them to do, sooner, better than later.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And can we get an update on what you've done and what you have, Conrad, in the past and what we've discussed today, so that when we get together, we can review it as well?
That sounds good. We'll do that.
Oh, so Conrad, did you see the page that I created for DEI with the materials? Did you take a look at it? Okay.
Yes. So in fact, that was one of the things I was going to do in my recap, is to Roz's point, highlight the various recordings that there are out there, and as well as perhaps even sharing the PowerPoint slide that we did, the education at the membership training.
Okay. So if I can share my screen, I'll show you. Okay, so on the district website, under membership, there's this diversity, equity, inclusion tab. So when you click on that tab, you get to this page. So Mark, just like how you did the piece, so peace is, where is peace? Peace is under foundation, promoting peace. So under membership, we have the DEI. So here's where you can find some tools and some information. And so Conrad has the ownership of this page, and then we can put up the tools on this page. This is all for you, Conrad.
Awesome, thank you. All right. Well, with that said, thank you very much, everyone, for taking time to attend our monthly task force meeting. We'll definitely have more discussions. And now that I have access to the email list of all the task force members, I will make sure that I send out information so that we can continue the conversation, so that by the time we have our next meeting, it's a little bit more meaningful. And hopefully we have more people that are able to attend at that time. All right.
Right.
Guys, have a great evening. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Conrad.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, everyone.